All right, guys. So the way today is going to work is that I'm going to give a short talk on kind of how how everything works. Kind of the mechanisms behind this, and then we're going to do some demonstration. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate just with myself and with Steph if she's available, and you guys can totally follow along with this as well. Okay, that's kind of the purpose of this, because one of the big things in this program is when you do this stuff, you're going to be able to test and see immediate change. Okay, and as a vocal teacher, like, that's a big deal, because you want to know with your students, what you'll find is that if they come in and they're compressed, they can't breathe well, certain parts of their rib cage doesn't open up, they're not going to be able to vocalize as well. And so this is a good way to start to test that, okay, to see like where specifically are they compressed, then what can I do, how does this work? Okay, so that's what I'm going to do real quick is just share my screen, and yeah, we will get going. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see it. Can everybody see this okay? Just give me a thumbs up. Perfect. All right, great. So I'm going to go ahead and slideshow this. And yeah, I'm just going to talk a lot. So vocal fitness in less time, okay? And so for us, we are the musical athlete, okay? My background is that I am a performance and postural restoration coach, okay? So I work with professional athletes, and my passion was always soccer or in Europe football. And so as a child, for the Italians that watch this, I was right behind the PK box when Roberto Baggio missed his PK in 1994 in the World Cup final for Italy. So I saw him, the golden ponytail. He was an amazing player, but I've loved soccer ever since I was a little boy. I wanted to be a professional athlete. I wanted to play professional soccer. I tore my ACL in college playing, and that destroyed my world. I mean, that was like, I had a full tear. I had to get surgery almost immediately after that. And one of the things that I was told was, you may never play again at this level, which, like, for me is like telling me I'm not going to breathe anymore. And so as a result, I wasn't necessarily confident in my body anymore. And so, like, I wouldn't run the same, I wouldn't move the same. And that affected me. It affected the way that I move. It affected the way that I react in every way. So I lost my confidence. So somebody like me years ago helped me to understand my body and to rehab and to get back to the field, and I remember I cried again after I played for the first time, because I feel like I had been given back something that I had lost. And that's kind of, from a singing perspective, the way that I started to do this was when Steph and I got together, and I would watch her sing, and I would begin to notice her doing certain things with her body, and note like certain restrictions and certain things that she would do. For example, when she would go to hit certain notes, she would arch her back, or her body would contort in such a way. And so we started to work together and kind of do some of the vocal stuff that I'm going to show you today. And what she began to notice was she was more confident in her singing, because she could start to get into ranges and hit notes that she wasn't necessarily as comfortable with before. Now that she can, and more importantly, she understands why, and that's a big deal. Because it's like, if you technically can't do something, if you don't have the ability to get air there to produce as much, exhalation as possible to vocalize, then we have a big problem. So this gives you, not only is this going to help your students and you to get more air in and to become more powerful as far as, your vocalization goes, but it's also going to give you more confidence, and that's a big goal for us, is to help to give you guys a system to work with that. So we're very excited to kind of present this and talk about it. So a couple things, like we talk about, I believe that all vocalists are athletes, because you guys are the most powerful breathers known to man. All right. And that is very true. You have to have the best control of your breath of any human on earth. And so for me, when I think about vocal fitness from my end, from a kind of more of a physical end, I think about the ability to complete a breath cycle without compensation. Okay. And that's important, because if I breathe in, okay, if I take a deep breath in, what I want is I want everything to expand. Okay, I want to get air in my chest. I also want to get air in my belly, but also fill the sides and also fill the back. So if I can't do that, okay, let's say I'm in a bad position, or I'm in a situation where I can't pressurize back here. Okay, what will end up happening then is that will get that, okay? I'm gonna get more air in certain places and less air in other places. And if you're a vocalist that is singing all the time, what ends up happening then is it pushes your spine forward over time. And so then you start to say, my back hurts, or I can't breathe in as well. It's because you don't have as much space anymore, right? And so one of our goals is to optimize where air goes, which is everywhere. It's like a balloon. If I blow up a balloon should blow up. It should fill the sides. It should fill the top and the bottom. Everything should be full equally. Whereas if I squeeze part of the balloon, more pressure goes into one space and less pressure goes into another space. And so it's like we might have some similar volume of air, but we're not distributing it everywhere. And as a result, we start to get overuse injuries in certain places, okay? Your back starts to hurt. You start to get all of these things that are non-optimal. And I was listening to a talk about COVID the other day, and they said, you know, after COVID, you start to get these compensations where, you know, it's like 30, 35 or 40% of people that get COVID already have some sort of a lung disease that they don't even know about because they're doing these things, right? I would argue it's higher than that. I see this all the time in almost everyone that I work with, certainly in singers. So that's massive. And that's our first step, is to give you the breath cycle back, all right? If you get the breath cycle back, if you can pressurize and exhale well, then everything else around that is gonna reorganize in a better way. It's gonna support the airway a lot better, okay? And so in order for that to occur, our second bullet would be to get the ribs to be able to, so when I breathe in, okay, what happens is the ribs externally rotate. They come up and out, okay? That allows the diaphragm descends and kind of opens up and flattens, okay? And when I exhale, the ribs come in, the diaphragm domes and rests against the ribs, okay? And so the diaphragm is a pump, and that's really important, okay? Now, if that doesn't happen, if I have an individual who has their ribs stuck open to some degree, they can't exhale as well, they can't get their ribs in, okay? Then they're not gonna have as much power. They're not going to be able to exhale as well. They're going to be stuck with air here all the time. So they're not going to be able to get the diaphragm down or up as well. Okay, or if I have somebody whose ribs are stuck together and they can't open as well, they're never going to be able to descend or ascend the diaphragm as much as we want. So optimal rib control, the ability to get the ribs up and down for me, and in order to do that, we have to have abdominals that will allow tension to occur and allow tension to release. And sort of, because when I breathe in, my abs, my obliques, my transverse abdominis, everything helps to control how far my ribs open. And then when I exhale, it kind of slingshots back and closes them, okay? So my abs have a very important role to play. And that's why good trunk control is extremely important. So the ability to control abdominal tension for us is incredibly important. And that's not something that, to some degree, you will get that with vocalizing, but that's something that we want to practice specifically, because the more that we can do that consciously, the more that we're going to be able to do that unconsciously, okay, in everything that we do. And from a warm-up perspective, the more we practice that prior to vocalizing or prior to performing or practicing, the more control we will be able to exhibit acutely, meaning like right at that point, right? Because it's like we're upregulating something that then is able to perform better. We're turning a car on and kind of like driving it before we race it, if that makes sense. So this is our goal, okay? This is what we want, okay? We want the ability to optimize our ability to breathe. And in order for that to happen, we have to be able to stack the cranium, which is the head, on top of the thorax and the rib cage, on top of the pelvis, okay? When I have that, I'm able to get air in and I'm able to get air out, okay? So gravity is helping us in that scenario, okay? But if I have a situation where I have a compensatory strategy where my ribs are out here, okay, I'm rib thrusting in the scenario. So now my ribs are out in front of my body, right? And what I want when I take a breath in is I want my ribs to drop back and open up. Okay, if that doesn't happen, then I stay out here and I can't get as much air in, okay? Or let's say I'm in this position where I'm down here, you know, everything is being pulled forward. I have this like forward head posture, same thing. I can't open up because I can't push my body in the direction that I need to. I can't fill the canister, I guess you could say, okay? Same thing with the pelvis. If I'm in a position where my pelvis is dumped forward, okay, and I try to breathe in, and I'm exaggerating here, but I'm never going to be able to get back enough to stack everything. Okay. And so that's a big takeaway, because as a vocalist or with anybody, like, here's what I don't expect you to always stack your body. Like, you have to move around and live in life and everything else. But when we train, we want to train our bodies in this way, because this is going to teach our bodies to allow this to occur. Okay. And to maintain this posture. And this is big, because once we can do this and hold this position in any given thing that I show you, the more resiliency our body is going to have to do everything. Okay, this is key. We call this stacking. All right, and this is our goal. So a takeaway as a teacher is, when you're teaching something to a student, that you just look at them and you see, okay, it looks like their head is out in front of their body, or their rib cage is thrust forward, or there's something that isn't straight up and down. Just giving them a few cues to kind of like drop the ribs back, or to, put your eyes on the horizon, because that's going to line my head up better. Right there is going to make a massive difference as far as their ability to get air in and out as they're going through stuff. So I think teaching somebody an optimal alignment and kind of singing that way, knowing that when they're on stage or when they're performing, they're going to have to be moving around, is also a really important takeaway as well. Okay, so the stacking piece is a big deal. And so if we look at these two mechanisms here, okay, we have an inhalation and an exhalation. Okay, so on the right, on the kind of the far side here, we have when I breathe in, we have a pelvis that tilts down. Okay, my ribs open up. My pelvis also opens, and what is called my pelvic inlet opens, so the diaphragm descends, because everything is opening up to allow that to happen, so the diaphragm can flatten out. Okay, and then what has to happen is, as I exhale, my pelvic floor has to push it back up. Okay, and everything has to kind of arch and close in order to push the diaphragm and to push air back this way. And so you can see that the opposite thing happens. The pelvis tilts forward and down, the back arches to some degree. Okay, and we want that to happen. Okay, that's important. Like, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Like, we want these two shapes to be able to occur. The problem is when we get stuck in one of these shapes. Okay, that's the issue that we often see. So with our warm-up, which I'll talk about in a minute, our goal is to get out of that shape and to be able to get into the other shape. Okay, and so our goal is to not fix you into a position, but to get you to neutral, so you can move in and out of each position to the best of your ability. Okay, and that's what we need. The breath truly is, I've seen people stretch, and I've seen people do mobility work and everything else. This is why everything has to start with the breath, is because the breath affects everything else. Okay, the breath sets the movement for the rest of the body. Okay, it affects the spine, which affects the limbs and everything else. But it certainly, as a singer, the most important thing is the movement of the diaphragm. Okay, and so in order for that to happen, we've got to get this pelvic movement. We have to get the opening and closing of the rib cage. Okay, those are our two keys. So if we look at different presentations, okay, of compensatory strategies that we see, there's a ton. Okay, the body was going to get air in any way that it potentially can. Okay, but when it can't, when air doesn't go somewhere, something else has to move instead. Okay, and so you can get things like forward head postures. You can get somebody that's kind of stuck in this like kyphotic state where they're like this because they can't get air into the front or into the chest wall. Okay, you see somebody here that's stuck in this state because they can't get air posteriorly. Okay, and then you see somebody that maybe can't get air into the backside of the pelvis, so they're just compressed forward all the time. Okay, these will present in different ways. You're going to see any number of things, and you're going to think to yourself, like, what is this? Why is this occurring? And the reality of it is, you're not really going to know. Okay, there's no way that we can really trust our eyes. But I'm showing you this because what we want is this thing on the right here. We want stacking. Okay, we want the ability to line everything up. Okay, and visually you'll be able to see that for sure. Okay, we're not necessarily looking at these things to try to explain why it's occurring, but what we are doing is we're just looking at them when we're saying, like, air is not going somewhere that we need it to. Okay, we need expansion everywhere. So then, then we can talk about what we do and everything else. But this is important because, you might think to yourself, oh, I need to get, air has to go everywhere, and so it's what you see here is not necessarily representative of, why, but it's representative that there is something that is requires intervention in some of the stuff that we're going to talk about. So the first step then to this is to identify the problem, okay, and to kind of look at why this is happening, and then like where do we spend our time? Like if I'm going to try to address something, like where am I going to get the most bang for my buck as far as, you know, what's the most important thing, okay? And so typically we're going to do 4 postural tests with our singers, okay? And what these do is these give us a pretty accurate representation of where air can go and where they can't go, okay? And I'm just going to demonstrate each of these, all right? And I want you guys to follow along with me because we're going to learn more about you today, okay? We're going to learn more about what you can and cannot do at the moment, you know, and then we can start to make some interventions there. Now, the other thing to consider with this is that once you do these tests, if we do the right thing and we can get more air in a certain place, then you will start to see that test improve almost immediately, okay? The test will get better. Like you'll do the test, you'll do something, you'll be able to do the test better, and then you can see that intervention is making a difference, okay? And that's important because I've seen a lot of things where they're like, stretch for 2 hours, but it doesn't do anything and there's no way for you to know, okay? Especially if you are working with a student, that's really important that you're able to see that change because then you know that they have more capacity to get to where we want them to go. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah? Cool. All right. So we have our toe touch, which is anterior compression. Okay. So can I get air into my pelvis? Okay. Can I get air into the front side of my pelvis? Okay. And so what we're going to do is I want you guys to stand up. Okay. We're just gonna demo this real quick, all right? I'm gonna walk everybody through this. I'm kind of cut off, but I want everybody to just. So this would indicate that we're compressed somewhere anteriorly, kind of in the front. Like we're not able to kind of internally rotate and get in. All right. So I want everybody to put their feet together, okay? And this is one of my problems, but what I want you to do is we are going to. We're just going to bend down, and I want everybody to attempt to touch their toes, all right? You can bend your knees a little bit, but we're just going to come back up, all right? All right, so give me a thumbs up here. Who could touch their toes? Could you guys? I could not, but you can touch your toes? Somewhat? Okay, very good, very good. You're doing great. So vocally, you're perfect so far. Okay. So then we know, yeah, Nadia, yes. All right, so next is going to be posterior compression, okay? Can we counter nutate our sacrum, all right? Can we get air into the back side of our pelvis, okay? So now for this next one here, all right, so we're just going to do a squat, okay? So with this one, what I'm going to do, just looking forward, I'm just going to try to drop straight down and get as low as I can. And you can see, like, I can do this, okay? I can get my butt to about my heels. That's what I want. I want to be able to drop down all the way, okay? So what I'm looking for is try to get your butt as low as you can. Keep your heels on the ground, okay? Feet are about shoulder width apart here, okay? And I want everybody to just drop as deep as you can. Drop it like a squat, all right? Let's just see what you can do. All right. Now, thumbs up or thumbs down. Could everybody get deep into a squat? Could you get your butt kind of below your knees? Yes? Okay, great. So if you guys are good there, that means that your pelvis probably moves, it tips back and it tips forward. This is good. This is what we want. Okay, now we're going to move to your rib cage. Okay, and we're going to look at, does compression occur there? Okay, and so we're going to start with your chest wall. We're going to look up front first. Okay, so we're going to start here. And the way this works is we're going to do a behind the back test, okay? So it looks like this. Take my hands, and I'm going to try to put it between my shoulder blades, okay? And for me, I can't get my right hand up as far as my left hand, so I know that my right chest wall is somewhat compressed. And why don't you guys, if you can show me your back there, why don't you show me, and I can give you kind of my okay, so you're good. You're good on the right, okay? Both of you can do that. All right, let's look at the other side there. All right, so, all right, and Sonny, how do you pronounce your name? I'm sorry, I want to make sure that I'm pronouncing that right.
It's Sunny.
Sunny. Okay. You're a bit compressed in your right chest wall. Okay. You notice you can't move you can't get as high in your right versus your left. Okay. And that would mean that you're probably rotated a little bit to one side. Okay. Nadia, how did you do with that? Were you able to get equally on both sides? Like thumbs up or down? Or maybe not. Okay. So that was posterior, that was anterior rib cage, so chest wall. Okay. Last one here. All right, we're going to look at, hold on, I've got a message here. A second, let's see what she said. Right is a little tight. Okay, so then I would say Nadia and Sunny, you both are compressed here, okay? And so we can look at that. All right, and last but not least, okay, we're going to look at a wall shoulder flexion here, okay? So what I want everybody to do, and actually to make it easier, I'm going to do this on the ground so everybody can kind of see this part of the wall. Okay, so my palms are facing me. They're not this way, they're this way, okay? I want you guys to keep your elbows together, okay? Back is pressed into the ground. What I'm looking for is try to get your arms over your head as much as you can. When your arms start to come out, when you start to kind of drop your elbows out like that, I want you to stop, okay? Just come overhead as much as you can. Just line your back. Line your back real quick. And let's see this here. All right, I'm just looking at everybody here. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. So arms up and elbows together. Yeah, and notice how your elbows want to go like that, right? Try to keep your elbows together as much as you can and just do that, right? When they start to fly out, you stop, okay? Yeah, try that again. So right about there for you, okay? Right about there for you. So, okay, so, and Nadia, could anybody get their elbow to their ear without their arm coming out or no? It's like really hard, right? Yeah. So, okay. So, and this is an area that is commonly compressed for singers. Like this is big. Another test that I didn't list here, but we can do would be like a neck rotation. Okay. So if we're in this position, okay. So a neck rotation. So what I want you guys to do is, and this is a good test of the lower airway. I didn't include this, but we can try it. I want everybody to just rotate their head as far as they can to the left. You should be able to get all the way to maybe your clavicle there, all right? Just give that a go. Just look at the horizon and just rotate to one side as much as you can. Okay? Now, look to the other side. Okay, did you guys feel more stuck on one side versus the other? Yeah? Ish? Okay. Well, the ability of your neck to rotate is a good representation of whether you can open your lower airway very well, okay? A lot of people with forward head posture, hold on. Let's see. Can you guys hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, cool. Yeah, the lower airway, a good representation of the lower airway is when somebody can of whether somebody can open the lower airway is when you can rotate your neck from one side to the other without tension or without kind of shoving things forward. Okay, so that's another thing that you could start to look at and play with. But okay, so it seems like then for everybody here, right? Everybody kind of has the same basic issue, okay? We're turned right, okay? We're compressed here, okay? And we don't have upper back expansion very well on either side, okay? So we know that, and really what I see with most singers is compression higher up, okay? So compression of the upper back, as well as sometimes you get chest wall compression as well, okay? So then the question becomes, what do we do, okay? So now to talk about that, our process is basically this, okay? So I said fitness and for singers in less than 20 minutes, okay? And so this is the process that we look at, okay?
with this, we're going to give our singers a daily warm-up, okay, that consists of 3 to 4 exercises focusing on expanding areas that are compressed based upon our testing, all right, that expand that area and also train the diaphragm, okay? So breathing is a big deal, okay? And breathing is something that we utilize in every exercise that we do to train the movement of the diaphragm as we open that space, okay? So it's just gently coaxing that space open as we breathe, okay? And we'll demonstrate a few of those in a second. And so the way that we do this is, and the way that I coach this is that I want my vocalists to perform this at the beginning of the day to open things up, or before you sing, okay? And so like here's a good example, okay? You're on a train and you're going to an audition or to a to a performance, and you don't have time to warm up. You're sitting for a long period of time and stuff is just getting squeezed and compressed. And you'll notice that, like, when you're standing for long periods of time or you're sitting for long periods of time, like, space is closed because you're just in one position. We want to move as much as we can. Doing these 3 or 4 things quickly is going to help to open up those spaces. And in some cases, I've had vocalists do this stuff and not even have to vocalize. They can just jump right in because things are already warmed up. So this could also be seen as like cross-training for the voice without actually vocalizing, because we're training the breath, which is the mechanism that ultimately is going to produce the voice, okay? So our 10 to 15 minute daily warm-up is kind of like our mandatory thing, okay? This is gonna put your body in the right place to be able to sing and to be able to perform well, okay? Then from there, we also wanna train the resiliency of our body to maintain good positions, okay? And to keep these spaces open and close them when you need to, but, be able to open and close them as we're able to, and not get compressed, okay? And again, we want to train resistance to crappy positions like sitting and standing for long periods of time that we have to do, in life because, we all have to work and make a living and all of these things. And so we've developed these 6-minute circuits that you can do, okay? Our circuits are going to be based upon your issue, okay? So for you guys, we would do the upper back. We would work on that, because the upper back is the thing that that you need to expand and that you need to build resiliency for. So we could open it with a more gentle exercise. And then throughout the day, whenever you had time, you would just follow along with the circuit that we create to open that area up and to build resiliency there. Okay. And that's something that you can do as you go along. Okay. That's something that, I encourage you to do it several times a day, but if you could do it once, that's great. If you could do more, that's also great. The warm-up is our mandatory thing. 10 to 15 minutes a day is mandatory. The training is, again, it's optional, but it's going to make you better ultimately. That's the thing that's going to build the resiliency that you're going to need to do your very best. Okay, so that's kind of a quick introduction into kind of how things work. But now what we'll do is, because you guys were able to do pelvis stuff, I'm not even going to worry about that. I'm going to show you an opener for your upper back, okay? And we're going to just go through that real quick, and I'm going to coach you guys through it. All right? So what I'm looking for here is we're going to need something to put our knees on, okay? And I'm going to demonstrate this first. Okay? It's like a child pose in yoga almost, but it looks like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come onto my elbows like this. All right? I'm going to open my left hand up. I'm going to keep my right hand down. And what I'm thinking about doing in this position is I'm rocking my butt to my heels, but I'm trying to expand the space between my shoulder blades up to the base of my neck. Okay, so I'm pushing my elbows into the ground. I'm expanding that area out with my muscles, and then I'm going to breathe into that space. So I breathe in. I'm going to let air come into that space. I'm going to exhale. And I'm just going to try to hold that position, okay? So I'm continuing to reach with my elbows, but again, very gentle. Just keep that space open, okay? So let me have everybody do that real quick, all right? Let's get into position, and let's give that a go. You guys don't have to do this, but let's try to find, yeah, there you go. You got lag there. And guys, you don't, yeah, you might want to keep your microphones on. Yeah, just find something that you can put your knees on. If I can't see you, that's okay. I'll just do this. Thanks, Nadia. Just do this along with me here, okay? So I'm going to get down here. All right, there you go. I can see you there. All right. We're just all going to do this, and we're just going to shoot for like 10 breaths here. Okay. So nothing crazy. But first, we're just going to get onto our elbows like we're doing a plank. Okay. So I want everybody to just like rock your butt to your heels here, run our elbows like, so thumbs are up, thumbs up. All right. Now, let me make sure everybody's in a good position here. Okay. Sonny, you're in a good position. And let's see. There you go. Okay, great. Now from here, okay, what I want you guys to do, I'm going to turn this way so you guys can see me a little bit more. Okay. Now, what I want you to think about doing is you're still in this plank position. Push your elbows into the ground and think about pushing the ground away from you with your elbows so you can kind of feel the space between your shoulder blades as well as behind your neck expands. Okay. So this is thing 2. All right. Now, last but not least, I want you guys to turn your right hand towards the ground, and I want you to open your left hand up towards the ceiling. Okay, so it's like this. It's like, if you look at me, it's like that right there. Okay, so left hand is open, right hand is closed or down. Okay, now I want you guys to push your shoulder blades apart. Okay, and we'll literally just do 5 breaths here. Okay, so I'll coach us along. All right. So eyes between your hands as well. All right. Now, let's take a deep breath in through the nose. Push that space apart. Pause for a second. Let that air sit there. Then exhale. Hold that space. Once again, deep breath in through the nose. Push with the elbows. Hold in that space. Exhale. We've got 3 more to go. Deep breath in. Fill that space with air. Feel that expand your upper back. Exhale. Let it go. Just got 2 more to go here. Deep breath in through your nose. Expand that space. Exhale. Let it go. Last one. Deep breath in through the nose. Out through the mouth, and relax. Good job, guys. All right, so we can sit back down there. Awesome. Okay, so could you guys feel? Could you notice your upper back expanding? Do you feel like you could feel air? You could get that expansion going, and you could feel air filling that space, kind of. Give me a thumbs up if you could get some feel there. Very good. Very good. Okay, so now, and really the only way that we know, okay, if this worked or not is we can retest some stuff. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is let's just test how this feels, okay, or how this moves. Okay, so what I want everybody to do is we're going to stand up here, and we're going to do that. I'm going to put one hand here, and we're going to put one hand there. Okay? Go ahead. Beautiful. All right, let's see what we're working with here. Beautiful. Yeah, it's actually a little bit better. Excellent. Nice. Good job, guys. All right. Yeah. So, Sonny, it looked like yours got a little bit better as well. Did you feel like you got a little bit more there?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. And so again, we just did 5 breaths, but typically we'll do like maybe 3 sets of 5, and we're just gently opening that space, because what we did with that exercise is we opened up your chest wall on the right, okay, and then we opened up our back side, okay, and that just gives us the ability to expand where we need to expand, okay, and that's a good example of one of the warm-up exercises that we'll do with our singers, just kind of based upon what we see, okay, and so these exercises help to optimally align you, because the other thing that movement did was if you can't expand somewhere, you're going to be rotated somewhere else. So for you guys, you were rotated to the right like this, because this area was, rotated to the right like this because the chest wall was closed and the back side was able to open. So what that does when we rotate that way, is it helps us to go this way. It helps to rotate us back to the left somewhat to get us more symmetrical. So when we lack air certain places, we have to move into other places. All right. So that's also, it has to do with the stacking that we talked about. So typically and every singer is different. What we do with our singers is you do an assessment and we're going to create your specific exercises for you, but with your students as well. Hopefully the takeaways here are, again, watch the way that they move and watch the way that they hold themselves. Okay. First, and then just do these simple tests. Okay. To see like, where are they limited? Okay. What can they not do? And then from there, then we get more into why and how and all of those things. But ultimately, this process of just giving them a few warm-up drills before they vocalize to open things up, and then encouraging them to do this on their own, or you doing this on your own on a daily basis, makes a massive difference as far as your ability to do that down the road. We've been working with a group of beta testers over the last couple of weeks, and almost immediately they said they started to notice more freedom in their voice. They started to notice, better recovery time after they had been singing, and one of our singers, she's Italian, was telling us that she's had a situation where she's not able to really, she hasn't been able to vocalize before she jumped into her work with her maestro. And she said she felt great. It was like vocalizing. So again, the goal ultimately is this stuff helps us to open things up, and then to optimize the movement down here, okay, in my pelvis and my rib cage, so I can get better opening and control of the airway and the vocal folds. Okay, that's a big deal for us, and the more we can get these two areas to work together, the more success we're going to have ultimately. And so last but not least, I'm going to talk about our musical athlete program. Okay, so our musical athlete program is a system that does exactly what we've talked about, okay? It designs a specific warm-up for you as a vocalist, and then we give you specific core training circuits to achieve optimal core strength and vocal control, okay? So we teach you a specific warm-up that we ask you to do on a daily basis. It's about 10 to 15 minutes, okay? And then we give you specific circuits that you can either choose to do or not. It's up to you, but these things are designed for you to do throughout the day, in order to strengthen the muscles and kind of improve the areas that that are going to compress, okay? And the whole thing is it's specific for you, okay? So we also give you access to kind of a library of different exercises that you could choose from as well that we're working on right now. We're doing a ton of filming, and access to like a Facebook group that we talk to you. We're posting things all the time. But the way that works is you're going to get a 30-minute call with me to go over your stuff, your results. I'm going to teach you how to self-assess and kind of get results and see where you are and what you need to do as you go along. And then we're going to give you the tools to make that stuff happen. Okay. And so that's my goal for all of you, is to teach you how to warm your bodies up properly and how to train to get better results as a vocalist by strengthening the coordination between your trunk, your rib cage, and your pelvis. Okay. So the program is going to launch on July 13th. Okay. But we're doing a pre-sale right now. Normally it's going to be $129.99, but we're offering it for $99 for anybody that signs up right now. You're also going to get an extra call with me and a pre-prep core program that I created for that. So I would love for you guys to give that a look. And what I'll do is we'll send everybody that was on this call or one of the recordings, just kind of a link to that to a page explaining kind of how that works and a place to sign up. But we're really looking forward to that. Steph and I have put a lot of work into that program, and we're really excited about that. I think that it's gonna, my goal is to introduce the warm up to the vocal world. I think that makes a massive difference. It's something that I do with pro athletes in a similar way. So with that, I just wanted and so I'll send everybody a link to that. But I wanted to open it up to questions. Does anybody have any questions on anything that we talked about? I'm going to stop my share so you guys can, respond or ask. But yeah, I just, open it up for any questions that anybody had. And I mean, really, it could be anything. It could be for you personally. It could be for your students, maybe clarification on, some of the stuff that we posted. I'm happy to answer anything that you guys, any questions that you have, or, anything at all. And, I guess I explained myself really well. Okay, Delilah, or how do you say your name?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it's Delia.
Delia, please go ahead.
Yes. You said, and I totally agree with expanding everywhere and filling everything with air. But I
Right.
do hear some methods that say you can just inhale, exhale, and then start singing. So I don't know what's up with that. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's well, first of all, yes, you can do that, and yeah, I mean, certainly you can just go sing, and that's the goal. And this is kind of what we were talking about as well earlier. Like 100 years ago, like something like this, like why are singers different today than they were 50 years ago or 100 years ago? Like why was Pavarotti the greatest of all time and people don't sound like that anymore? And it was because of the things that they did differently. Okay, Pavarotti grew up in a time where there were no televisions. Okay, he was at least as a young man, he was fit, but he was a soccer player actually, and he grew up in a time where he went outside and he moved around and he did all of these things, and he lived in this world where humans were more active. Okay, they were moving more, and they, as a result, they didn't develop a lot of the bad habits and compensatory strategies that we see in, I guess, modern life today. Okay. And so what I would say with that is that a lot of the methods that you're going to hear about are like very old. Okay. Like very, very old, like way older. I'm almost 40, but like older than me, certainly. And so the world has changed in that period of time. Like the world today versus 1981 when I was born is very, very different. We sit more than ever. All of these things were more sedentary. And so what we're doing here is a counter reaction to that. All right. We have to do more work because we are more compressed more of the time. And I heard a presentation from NATS here in America, which is the National Association of Vocal Teachers. And they were talking about the effects of COVID-19 and kind of what it would do to the airway. And one of the things that they said is it creates compression in the ventral cavity, which is the rib cage and everything else. And so think about COVID is an extrapolation of what life does to us over a long period of time. Our habits create these things that don't allow air to go certain places. And then as a result, we're never able to get that full breath in. Okay. So what I would say is that method is not wrong, but it's idealistic. Okay. That's like in an ideal world, yes, like we shouldn't have to do any of this, but we don't live in an ideal world. Okay. Especially, if you're sitting for 10 hours a day or 10 hours that day, and then you have to go sing, like it's going to be much more difficult than if you were out hiking or something. So that would be my response, is that we have to, in this world today, we have to understand our bodies better, and we have to be able to prepare our bodies better to deal with modern life. Okay. And so it's just more self-maintenance is a big deal. And that's a principle that I really believe in. And I think that, we want to be able to offset what the world does to us in the most efficient way possible. Okay. And so this is the response to that and how we do that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Nadia, I thank you for the question. Let me, please go ahead. Post your info in the chat here. I see you've raised your hand. What do you got? I don't know.
Yeah, I can actually speak. I
Oh,
just
great.
can't do video and
Yeah, no
speak at
problem.
the same time. So please forgive me.
Oh, no,
But
please.
my question is that when you say that they warm up on the train or different places that they're going where you don't have time to actually vocalize, can you go in a little bit more depth of what that looks like?
No doubt. Okay. So let's say that, and again, a lot of this stuff is principle based. Okay. So I don't have let's say we are on a train, right? You're not going to be able to get on your back, or you're not going to be able to get on your elbows. Like I'll do it in an airport because I'm willing to look like a freak, but like certain people are not willing to do that. So like, let me give you an example of that. Okay. So when I'm talking about the pelvis specifically, right? I've got a situation where when I get into a position where I'm in an anterior tilt, okay, my back is arched, okay, I know that I need my abs and my hamstrings to work in order to pull that back, okay? And so while we do this in certain positions that are going to help to bias this in our ideal scenario warm up that you might do at home, we can do the same thing in any position. Let me give you an example of that. Okay, so let's say I'm seated on a train. All right, I'm just gonna put my thing down here. So can you guys still hear me? Okay. Yeah. All right, cool. So, all right. So I'm sitting down, right? This is a kind of a step stool here, but you'll get the idea. So I'm sitting down, I'm on a train, right? What I could do is I can start to, let me move this down here so you guys can still hear me okay? Okay, what I can do in this position without moving is I can start to dig my heels back, okay? So I feel my hamstrings work, okay? So I'm pushing my feet into the ground and I'm digging back. Okay, so that's gonna engage my hamstrings, okay? I can start to reach forward with my arms, okay, which is gonna open up my upper back. And I can tuck my pelvis so I feel my abs. I can kind of feel this space open up and this space close, like if I'm compressed back here. I can hold in this position and I can breathe, okay? I can open things up by feeling the right stuff. Like one of the tenets of our program is we want you to be able to feel the right muscles in order to get the right action. So if we're feeling hamstrings and abs, we know that we're getting posterior tilt of the pelvis. We know that we're getting a little bit of probably more posterior expansion, at least of the lower back. Okay, and that's gonna give us, and when we're reaching forward, we know that we're closing the chest wall and we're opening the posterior thorax. Okay, so this biases air to a certain place. Okay, so by doing this, and you know, you can even put your elbows up on just an arm rest or something. It could be anything. But you know, let's say I'm standing. Okay, I'm standing on a train. Okay, I'm holding on to something, right? So what I could do then, I could bend my knees slightly. Okay, I could dig my heels back. I could drop my ribs, and I could reach like that, or just reach down. Okay, and same thing. All I'm trying to do in this position is open up the same spaces. So find my hamstrings, push my back apart here, breathe in. And so a lot of this is going to be principle based. So with each representation that we tested, the toe touch, the shoulder flexion, all that stuff, we give you what we want you to feel. Okay, like we'll give you certain cues and we'll give you certain reaches that you can do anywhere in order to get air in that same space. And by doing that, you're warming up in the same way. Certain positions are going to be more ideal than others, but that doesn't mean that you can't warm up standing up or sitting down. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Of course. Yeah, and that's kind of the idea, is that, you know, like I give you exercises, guys, but it's more principle based in the sense that we want you to feel certain things to get, you know, certain results, okay? And we want you to just understand the overall concept of how you get there, okay? Once you understand that, then you could really be in any position and still get the same result, okay? That's going to be our goal, is just to give you kind of the information necessary to make your own decisions, as well as giving you a specific routine in different places. But in our warm-up program that we're creating, or in our program that we're creating, we give you guys some different kind of versions of our warm-up. So a standing version of it, a seated version of it, so you could really do it anywhere. And then it just becomes about practicing that stuff, you know. But for example, if you know that for the pelvis, okay, if I can't squat, okay, and I need to get more posterior expansion down there, I know that I need to find abs and hamstrings in any position. You know, it's like once you know that, then you're going to be able to start to extrapolate things and do it in different positions and, you know, get the same result. And then you could be as creative as you want, you know, and that's our goal, is to give you guys, you know, the information and the exercises to do, but then also, you know your body best. So give you the ability to, you know, make decisions. And you might find like certain things that work for me don't work for you. And then certain things that you create work way better, you know? So once we give you that information, and once you have that, you know, then you can start to make, you know, start to create and freestyle on your own, which is ultimately our goal, you know? But again, we give you these exercises in our program, you know, and then from there we can start to make modifications. But that's also why we have our group, because in our Facebook group, you know, we want you to ask questions. We want you to post things and say, hey, how does this look? You know, all of that. So it's ongoing, you know, support in that way, which is like education for me is really important. I want you guys to know why. Like that's big for me. So, so yeah. And hopefully that answered your question. I like to ramble, as you can tell. But do you guys have any other questions or anything else at all? Well, guys, I really appreciate you guys getting on and joining us today. Everybody that's listening to this that didn't join us, that couldn't make it. I really appreciate you tuning in as well. What we're going to do is send this recording out to everybody that was here and everybody that wasn't here, so you guys can look this over again. We're going to put the link to our program in our profile. Okay, so you can check that out. And again, if you guys have questions or you would like us to post about certain things, please just message us at the.musical.athlete and Instagram. We're just getting started, but Steph and I are super excited, and we really appreciate the opportunity to work with singers and just help people find confidence in their own bodies. So thank you so much, guys, and we'll be in touch very soon. All right, guys. Thank you so much.